Okay. If one betroths women with trumos, with tithes, with gifts, with the waters of purification or the ashes of purification, she is betrothed, even a non-Kohen. If one says to another, go and betroth so and so to me, and he went and betrothed her to himself, she is betrothed. Similarly, if one says to a woman, you are betrothed to me after 30 days, and another came betrothed, well, within 30 days, she is betrothed to the second. The daughter of a Kohen betrothed as a non-Kohen may eat truma. If he said from now and after 30 days, and another came betrothed within 30 days, she's betrothed and not betrothed. The daughter of a non-Kohen to a Kohen, or the daughter of a Kohen to a non-Kohen may not eat truma. If one says to a woman, you are betrothed to me on condition that I will give you 200 zuz, she is betrothed, and he gives it. On condition that I will give it to you from now until 30 days. If he gave it to her within 30 days, she's betrothed. If not, she's not betrothed. If he says on condition that I have 200 zuz, she is betrothed provided that he has it. On condition that I will show you 200 zuz, she is betrothed provided he shows it to her. If he showed it to her on the table, she is not betrothed.
Okay, and in a very similar vein to the previous Mishnah, Almanashi Yeshli base core apart. If he says on condition that I have a base core is a certain a size of parcel of land which is capable of yielding of sowing a core of seeds, which is a very large area. Right, as long as he can prove that he owns this land. On condition that I have land in such and such a place. If he has it in that place, yes, and if not, then no. On condition that I will show you this land, so he has to prove it to her not by testimony of other people, but by showing it to her personally, so that she can be satisfied that he hasn't hired anybody to lie to her. And if he once again says does the trick and says, I'll show you a base core of land, and he shows her a base core of completely hefker land of something in a valley that doesn't even belong to him, that's not a Kiddushin. Okay. Rabbi Meir Omer kol tanai she'eno kisnai b'nei Gad u'b'nei Ruvain eino tanai. Okay, so this is so the tanai of b'nei Gad and b'nei Ruvain was when they wanted to stay in Eber LeYarden, right. And ultimately, what did the Torah say of them? That if they would come across and fight at the head of everyone else, then they would be allowed to. Then after the victories, they would be allowed to return and inherit that land. And if not, the second side of the statement was stated, and if not, then they should inherit on the west of the Jordan with everyone else. Okay. So Rabbi Meir is saying if that any Tanai that's not stated like the Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain is not a Tanai. Shneimar vayomem Moshe alehem im yavru Bnei Gad u'Bnei Ruvain etc. V'im lo yavru chalutzim, and if they don't go across, okay. So what does it mean that it's not a Tanai? That even though the condition was not maintained, the maaseh is kayam, meaning that it's not even considered. It's not when you say it's not a tanai, not that the tanai was not fulfilled, but the tanai just is batal. So so according to Rabbi Meir, if a person tried to put a tanai onto something that he said and failed to state it in the way that Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain did, then the tanai is basically ignored, and all we have is the certainty of what he said he would do. Okay. Rabbi Hanani ben Gamliel Omer tzarich haya davar lo. No, he says it's not so. The Tanai in another case, like if, for example, if a man says, Hariyat Mekudeshesli al Tanai that I will, that I will win the lottery. Okay, so Rabbi Meir says, ignore the thing. He didn't state a double condition. Therefore, she's just Mekudeshes, finished. Okay. Rabbi Meir would want to say, if I win the lottery, then you're married to, and if not, then you're not. And Rabbi Hanani ben Gamliel says, no, how can you learn that out from Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain? It was necessary to state both sides of the condition because there was another possibility. צריך היה הדבר לומר שאלמלא כן יש משמע במשמע שאפילו בארץ כנען לא ינחלו. That it could have been, the condition could have been, okay, if they do come and fight, then yes, they will get that land on the other side of the Jordan. But if they don't come and fight, maybe they won't inherit at all. Not that they'll get it on the west, but it wasn't a given that they would inherit on the west. So Moshe had to state the condition as a double condition so that you know what to do in each circumstance. There were other possibilities, but in a situation where you've got a binary condition, like I'll be married to you if I win the lottery, then that's a binary condition. It's obvious that if you don't, then it's not effective.
Right.
Okay. So interestingly, the poskim come out and say that the halacha follows Rabbi Meir in any tanai that begins with the word if. If you do this, okay. If I win the lottery, then this is your Kiddushin, and if not, then not. Okay. That has to be like B'nai Gad and B'nai Reuben. But if somebody says his Tanai in the lashon of Almanas on condition that, then obviously it's a binary condition. Whereas if I do this, then this, and if not, then that. There you have to state it as B'nai Gad and B'nai Reuben. You've got to state both sides of the possibilities. Okay, but if you just say I want to do this on condition that, that's a clear binary condition.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Mishna Hey. Hamikadesh is Haisha v'Omar Kasavor Hayisi Shehi Kohenes. So he does the Kiddushin and now he comes back with a Taina and says, I thought she was a Bas Kohen. And it turns out that she's a Bas Levi. Or vice versa. I thought she was a Bas Levi and it turns out she's a Bas Kohen. Or he says, Aniya v'harei Ashira, Ashir v'harei Aniya. I thought she was poor and really she's rich. I thought she was rich and really she's poor. It was his fault. She didn't mislead him. Yeah. He just came with a mistaken assumption and married her on that basis. But it's not the but nonetheless it's that he can't claim taus because the taus was from his own hallucination. Okay. So a guy who's in the conversion process comes and does a Kiddushin to a woman and says, you'll be married to me after I come out the mikveh. Or or this is your Kiddushin for after you've converted. Or he's a slave, he says, after I become released. Or after you are freed. He was a Kiddushin to a woman whose husband is on the deathbed and said, this should be effective as soon as your husband dies. Or immediately after your sister dies, because he's married to her sister right now and he can't marry her now. But okay. Or after your yavam, you do chalitza. Doesn't work. You can't make a kinyan on somebody who's not there, even if you say this is only going to be effective when you become eligible to me. Similarly, if somebody says to his friend, if your daughter gives birth to
it says if your wife.
Yes. So he says right. He says to him, he sees his friend's wife is pregnant and he wants to marry into the family. He says, okay, so this is Kiddushin for the daughter that's in her womb if it's a daughter. Doesn't work. If she was pregnant and visibly so. So it turns out that if according to Rambam, he has to go back again and do the Kiddushin again after she's born because a person can't do a kinyan on something that hasn't come into the world yet. So what is the Varav Kayamin? To be machmir on him to be machmir on her that she cannot be married to anyone else up until this stage. So the Kiddushin doesn't really take effect because she wasn't yet in the world. He couldn't have made a kinyan, but we choshesh enough for the fact that there was a visible pregnancy here, and he did a Kiddushin. So now she can't marry anyone else, and therefore either the husband has got to give her a get or give her father a get on her behalf, or he has to actually redo the Kiddushin with the father.
Mm.
Okay. And that, I believe, is 3 Mishnahs for the day.
Yes, actually, yeah.
Okay. If tell me, you carry on until you need to go.
Gittin. Gittin test. If she was reported if she was reported in the town to be married, she is married. To be divorced, she is divorced, as long as there are no qualifications. What is a qualification? If they said so-and-so divorced his wife on a condition, or through her condition to her, and there was doubt if it was close to her or close to him, there's a qualification. This is a qualification. Beit Shammai says a man may not divorce his wife unless he found her in an act of adultery, as it says, because he found her in an adulterous thing. Beit Hillel says even if she burnt his food, as it says, because he found her in an adulterous thing. If Akiva says if he found another more beautiful than her, and he says, and it comes to pass that she does not find favor in his eyes.
I don't know, life myself as Gittin. And
We go back to
one more from the beginning of Kiddushin.
A woman is required in 3 ways. She acquires herself in two ways. She is acquired with money, with a document, or with cohabitation. With money, Beis Shammai says, with a dinner, or if it's something worth a dinner. Beis Hillel, however, says with a pruta, or with something worth a pruta. And how much is a pruta? 1/8 of an Italian issa. She acquires herself with a get or with the death of her husband. A yavama is acquired with cohabitation and acquires herself with a litza or with the death of the yavam. Okay, so we're finished with getting now. Sota. Ketvav. And it shall be when the officers have finished addressing the people that they shall appoint the captains of the host as the head of the people and at the rear of the people. They station guards in front of them and others behind them with axes of iron in their hands. And if anyone tries to turn back, he has the authority to break his legs. For flight is the beginning of slaughter, as it is said, Israel has fled from before the Philistines, and they are also a great slaughter among the people. And below it states, and Israel fled before the Philistines, and they fell slain. When is this the case? In a discretionary war, but in a war commanded by the Torah, all must go forth, even a groom from his chamber and a bride from her bridal chamber. Rabbi Yehuda says, when is this the case? In a war commanded by the Torah, but in a war of duty, all go forth, even the groom from his chamber and the bride from her bridal chamber. The passage regarding the decapitated calf must be cited in the holy tongue, as it is said, if a corpse should be found in the land. Your elders and your judges shall go out. 3 members of the high court in Jerusalem would go out. Rabbi Yehuda says 5, as it is said, your elders 2 and your judges 2. And since a court cannot be even, they must add 1 more. Okay. If it was found buried, that's it, right?
Yeah.
That's it, right? Okay.
How's your timing?
Excuse me?
Your timing okay?
I'm okay right now. Aleph, hey, Aleph. Although they said a virgin collects 200 zuz and a widow collects 100, if he wishes to add even 10,000 zuz, he may. If she became widowed or divorced either after Eretson or after Nusuin, she collects all. Elazar ben Azariah says, after Nusuin, she collects all. After Arusin, she collects, after Erison, a virgin collects 200 zuz and a widow 100, because he wrote it in for her only on the condition of marrying her. Rabbi Yehuda says, if he wishes, he may write for a virgin a contract of 200 zuz, and she writes, I have received from you 100, and of a widow 100, and he writes, I have received from you 50 zuz. The mayor says, anyone who undertakes to give a virgin less than 200 or a widow less than 100, their intimacy is an illicit intimacy. A virgin is given 12 months from the time her husband has asked her to provide herself. And just as the woman is given, so a man is given to provide himself. A widow is given 30 days at the time. If the time arrived and they were not married, they eat of his food and they may eat of truma. Reb Tarfon says she is given all of it from truma. Reb Akiva says half ordinary food and half truma. A yavam does not confer upon a sister-in-law the right of to eat of truma if she has spent 6 months before her husband and 6 months before the yavam, or even all of them before her husband, less 1 day that she spent before the yavam, and all of them before the Yavam, less one day that she spent before her husband. She may not eat a truma. This is the original ruling. The court that came after them said a woman may not have truma and until she enters the chuppah. Okay. And we have Mivos. Mivos.
Here, first, Erevin.
Oh, I didn't pull it out. I'm so sorry.
Okay. You want to do McBoss? Okay, we'll come back to Erevin later.
Okay. Vav Dalet. If Reb Eliezer says one reviews of drawn water to qualify as a mikveh at the beginning and 3 lugim when it's on the surface of the water, but on the stage, but the comments say both at the beginning and at the end the amount is 3 lugim. If a mikveh has 3 hollows and each containing 1 log of drawn water, when it is known that 40 sore of valid water had already fallen into the mikveh before they reach the 3rd hollow, it is valid. Otherwise, it isn't valid, and Rabbi Shimon declares it valid because it is like one mikveh next to another mikveh. If one moved mud to the sides and 3 lugim of water drained out of it, it is valid. However, if he removed it and 3 lugim drained out of it, it is invalid. And but Rabbi Shimon declares it valid because he has no intention to draw the water. Okay. One more, right? If one places jars on a roof to dry them out, and they
No. That's it for
that was,
yeah.
that was 3. Okay. We're on to Kulin. Kulin Aleph Dov. The Aleph Dov, yeah. Aleph Dalet. If one slaughters from the sides, his slaughtering is valid. If one performs malika from the sides, his malika is invalid. If one slaughters from the nape, his slaughtering is invalid. And if one performs malika from the nape, his malika is valid. If one slaughters from the throat, his slaughtering is valid. If one performs malika from the throat, his malika is invalid because the entire nape is valid for malika and the entire throat is valid for slaughtering. Thus, what is valid is for slaughtering is invalid for malika, and what is valid for malika is invalid for slaughtering. What is fit for turtle doves is unfit for young pigeons, and what is fit for young pigeons is unfit for turtle doves. The beginning of the yellowing is both in both is unfit. What is valid for the red cow is invalid for the decapitated heifer. What is valid for the decapitated heifer is invalid for the red cow. What is fit for Kohanim is unfit for Levium, and what is unfit for Levium is unfit for Kohanim. What is tahor in earthenware utensils is tamei and other utensils. What is tahor in other utensils is tamei and earthenware vessels. What is tahor in wooden vessels is tamei in metal vessels. What is tahor in metal vessels is tamei in wooden vessels. What is subject to tithing? In bitter almonds, it is exempt, except what is subject to tithing in bitter almonds is exempt in sweet ones. What is subject to tithing in sweet ones is exempt in bitter ones. I mean, everything.
You'd have to dive into the details of to exactly what those are. Each of those categories, but apparently we don't have time for that.
Why am I not seeing it? It should be right over here.
Anyway. Go ahead.
An alley that is higher than 20 cubits must be lowered. Yehuda says it need not. And one which is wider than 10 cubits must be narrowed. However, if it has the form of a doorway, even if it is wider than 10 cubits, it need not be narrowed. The adjustment of a valley, the adjustment of an alley, Beit Shammai says a pole and a crossbeam, but Beis Hillel says a pole or a crossbeam, and Reb Eliezer says 2 poles. A disciple in the presence of Rebbe Akiva said it stated in the name of Rebbe Ishmael ben Shammai, and Beis Hillel did not differ concerning an alley which is narrower than 4 cubits, but it may be adjusted with a pole or a crossbeam. Concerning which did they differ? Concerning one which is wider than 4 cubits and up to 10 cubits. Reb Shammai says a pole and a crossbeam, but Beis Hillel says a pole or a crossbeam. Said Rebbe Akiva, they different in both cases. The crossbeams of which they spoke, it is wide enough to hold an arak. An ariak is half a brick measuring 3 fists. It is sufficient for the crossbeam to be 1 fist wide to hold an ariak lengthwise. Okay.
Can. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. That was.
Sorry.
Hold on.
I was just worried about what